Mother-in-law smacked my daughter. Hey everyone, came here looking for an opinion on what happened while we were at my mother-in-law's house. Me 34 male and my wife 28 female, been married for over 7 years. I've always hated my mother-in-law. I'm not gonna lie, she's always treated me with no respect, belittles me in front of my wife, prioritize her other grandkids over my 6-year-old daughter. She's an overall narcissist, with no empathy. Last night while me, my wife, and daughter were visiting, we found sister-in-law and her boys, 9-13, there too. I should mention that I try my best not to get engaged in a conversation with her, and just suck it up till we leave. Before dinner, the kids were outside playing. I was sitting on the couch almost falling asleep cause I was very tired. I literally finished my shift, took wife and daughter, and went straight to mother-in-law's house. My daughter had her iPad with her while she was outside with the other kids. She needed help opening her game. Her iPad needed charging. I put it aside and told her to go play with the other kids. Anyways, they were all playing hide and seek. They were loud but that didn't bother me. I fell asleep almost instantly while, from what I gather, my daughter ran to hide. She accidentally went inside my mother-in-law's room. Mother-in-law was feeling a headache. Apparently when my daughter ran into her room she was screaming out of excitement, which are totally normal behavior. My mother-in-law got angry with my daughter screaming. I didn't know what really happened, but my daughter ran to me and she was crying. I woke up to her crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that my mother-in-law smacked her when she was in her room. I was stunned. My wife came out of the kitchen with sister-in-law. I sat my daughter on my lap and tried to calm her down. Sister-in-law asked what happened. I told her mother-in-law just smacked my daughter across the face. She looked at me and said I'm sure that was not what happened and tried to shame my daughter for lying, saying lying isn't good. I had to stop her right there. What the duck? Your mom just physically harmed my daughter and you think she's making that up? I was so pissed. I get that mother-in-law prefers sister-in-law's kids and ignores my daughter. I get that she hates me, but it got to the point where she'd literally be willing to take it out on my daughter just cause I'm her dad. I could almost swear this was not about discipline. My wife went to ask mother-in-law about it, then came back. She was in tears and said we needed to leave. I was confused. I didn't really know what was going on. I took my wife and kid and left. I asked my wife what happened. She said her mother was just in a bad mood and refused to even discuss why she smacked our daughter like that. So she was having a bad day. That's why she took it out on my kid. Really, I'm done with this bullshit. I can't even express how offended and hurt we both felt. How absolutely ducking crazy that woman is to think she'll ever have the opportunity to do this to my daughter again. Thank God my daughter forgot about the whole thing, but that I was not going to let this go. This morning my wife received a text from her mom apologizing for acting irrationally and how she blamed it all on her anger issues. So then she thinks it's okay to do what she did and expect us to forgive her. My wife has always endured the abuse her mom put on her, although it seems impossible. But my wife is still having her in her life, so now she's abusing my daughter just like she abused my wife. Edit. I just read some of your comments. I posted this before I went to sleep. Didn't expect too many opinions though. You guys right. It might seem that my daughter isn't upset, but I noticed her being quieter than the usual. Wife doesn't even want to talk about it with me. She told me she'll talk to her mother and let her know how this hurt the three of us, not just our daughter. She threw the Christmas gifts at us during her adult tantrum. For so long I've lurked on here almost daily, reading everyone's pain, strength, and support. Something happened today and I could really use some support. Some background. My amazing husband had a bad childhood, punctuated with him losing his mother in young adulthood. He never knew his dad. When I met him 8 years ago, I learned his aunt, mom's sister, and her husband are his only family. He warned me they were conservative, but were very important to him despite their different values. His aunt and I always got along fine. She's a strong personality and needs to be in control, but I'm a textbook peacemaking middle child, so the dynamic suited me fine. When Trump got elected, she slowly turned into a MAGA nightmare. All of her tone deafness and hate and ignorance all bubbled to the surface. Our relationship became strained, and I forgave her controlling behavior less and less. Some examples of her charm are calling me chubby when pregnant, throwing a fit when we made her wash her hands before holding our 2-week-old son, and the absolute worst is not inviting my husband to important family events and purposefully excluding him. They're his literal only family. It breaks my heart. And worse, it breaks his. Another important background note is I recently unfriended her on Facebook after she posted a crazy racist meme. That was our main mode of communication and she's super active on there, so I knew she'd notice and hate it, but I didn't care. So today, we were driving through their city and my husband had plans with her to drop by and return her bowl say hi. I didn't want to go, but he talked me into it. So us and our 4-year-old and 10-month-old are driving there, and I remembered when she resisted washing her hands with our baby, so I reminded him that if she tries to touch the kids to shut it down. He was like, it's a pandemic. No way will she do that. So we get there, get our 4-year-old daughter out of the car and his aunt is literally running towards her for hugs. My husband loudly goes, "Alright, before you come any closer, no hugs or touching, and we're not going inside obviously." She scoffs at him and says we'll take our chances. He firmly said no. We are in a pandemic. Absolutely not. I could see her face change, and she took another step toward my daughter. I grabbed my daughter's hand and stepped back and said no. I looked into her stupid ducking face and said, "We are in a pandemic." She turned around, storms inside, and comes back out with 2 huge trash bags, and throws them aggressively on the ground and yells, "Fine. Here's the kids' Christmas presents," which she'd been saving through quarantine. All of us, including her husband, stood there frozen. She ran inside crying and slammed the door. We immediately left and obviously left the presents. She threw a tantrum because she didn't get her way. I don't think she cares about not being allowed to hug as much as she wanted to assert control over the situation. It was disgusting and embarrassing. My poor daughter was so upset. And my poor husband, he deserves so much better. I also carry some guilt. Would she have been less sensitive or angry if I hadn't recently unfriended her? My husband says that's not even the issue. It's her dismissal of the pandemic and of his boundaries. I know he's right. But I still feel awful if I in any way contributed to this dynamic where he's essentially getting iced out of his family. Still, duck her and duck her selfish and entitled politics and view of the world and treatment of her family. I hate her. My future mill is making me rethink my engagement. Sigh. Okay. I'm going to try to make this as short and clear as possible since I'm on mobile. I apologize if this is at all disjointed or hard to read follow. I'm 28 and my boyfriend is 25. We got engaged about 6 months ago before COVID sent the world to hell and I was really excited. We've been together for nearly 4 years. During this time, Mill actively tried to limit the time we spend together by not allowing me over her house. My boyfriend is getting his masters and still lived at home, and sending him hateful, angry texts whenever he would come to visit me. When we would go on vacation together, she would call multiple times a day and ask where we were, what we were doing, etc. She would also call at 8 AM to ask us when we were coming back home, even though she already knew the answer to that. My mother-in-law has made it clear from the beginning that not only does she not like me, but that she doesn't like her son being in a relationship, period. My boyfriend has told me that she's treated all of his exes like crap and that her behavior towards me is nothing new. Whatever. I told him that he needs to call her out on her shit and he did, but of course she didn't change her behavior. She's also done some creepy things, and I can only guess they were an attempt to exert dominance. She will hold his hand while walking down the street so that I'm shut out. She'll say things like my son is my only true love and she kissed him on the lips right in front of me. It was a quick tap kiss, but still. WTF. I asked if she's ever kissed him on the lips before and he said no. He admitted to me that he was creeped out by this, too. Anyways, we announced our engagement a few days before Christmas last year via social media. We wanted everyone to hear it at the same time and this was the easiest way. The majority of his family wished us well and gave us their blessing. but his mom did not comment. This is no big deal as I don't care about that stuff, and we decided we would delete the post after a few days anyway. Mil to be invites me over for Christmas, and in front of everyone, she turns to me and says, "You'd better not get pregnant because that's going to be a problem." My boyfriend was not in the room at the time, so he did not hear anything that was going on. I was stunned for a second before I asked her what exactly the problem would be. I told her I'm a grown woman and the decision to have children has nothing to do with her and she should mind her business. To my luck, my boyfriend walks in right as I'm telling his mom to mind her business. She immediately plays off as the innocent and says that I started it. She tells my boyfriend that she's completely supportive of us having children and can't wait to be a grandmother. She lays it on real thick. No one else in the room says a word, so it's basically my story against Mil's version. My boyfriend and I decide to leave about 20 minutes later and we argue the entire drive home. He tells me that he knows his mother is nosy and difficult, but that I really need to try harder to get along with her. He also has the audacity to say that she's old and doesn't realize what she's saying. Oh, did I mention Mil is 43? Yeah, she knows what she's saying. Basically, this has been an ongoing argument for the last month because my boyfriend moved into my place. Her calls and texts have doubled, and she keeps him on the phone for much longer periods of time. I understand that she probably misses him, but these calls happen daily and are about nothing at all. He won't set boundaries with her because he hates confrontation and uncomfortable conversations. I'm reaching a point where I cannot handle much more. It's been nearly 4 years and she has not eased up, apologized or made any attempt to be civil to me. I love my fiancé, but I cannot imagine living the rest of my life like this. What should I do? Edit. Thank you all for your advice and support. I'm reading all of your comments as they come in and taking them into serious consideration. This post has made my decision making process a lot easier.